Welcome, everyone. I just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to be recording this meeting today so that other members who can attend can view it, and as well set up so you can view it again if you want. In addition, there's 2 videos that will be shown today, and those 2 will be available and uploaded to our site. We have a YouTube site, and we will provide anyone that has registered for this meeting, we will provide them links to all 3 files so that you can enjoy them, or if you want to review them at any time. Vic?
Thanks, Bill.
Turning to you.
Thank you very much. Hello all, my name is Vic Vaccaro, and I'd like to welcome you to the first meeting or seminar for the CCA Skidaway Island chapter. We have a very exciting program to you, very interesting and very timely. If you've noticed over the last 8 or 9 months, the fishing at the landings has significantly increased. And that's driven us to come up with today's presentation. Next slide, please. As is typical with most of our seminars, we have a raffle prize. And tonight we have a special raffle prize. We have a charter with Miss Judy for inshore fishing for 2 people. So 2 lucky people will be selected tonight. Each of you, I believe, have already received a raffle ticket. And also, some of you have actually purchased additional tickets. And the selection of the winner of the raffle prize will come at the end of the meeting by our president, Dave DeVore. Next slide, please. Getting into the meeting now, let's start with the agenda so that you can understand what's going to happen. I'm going to discuss the Lagoon Guide, and then I'm going to turn it back to Bill for a few Zoom tools so that you'll know how to manipulate and work your way through so that you can ask questions to speakers at a later time. Then we're going to ask Frank Woods to get up there and talk about our highlights of the fundraising campaign for 2021. And then what's usually the audience participation, fishing stories. We have talked to a few of you already, and we have some fishing stories that we'd like to present. And then for the main event, we have Doug Painter coming on to discuss fishing in our freshwater lagoons. And then following that, there should be a question and answer, assuming you have questions. And following that will be Dave DeVore, our president, who will wrap up the meeting for us. Next slide, please. So let's get right into the fishing lagoon guide. If you've attended our meetings before, you know that we've been working hard to continually update this lagoon guide. There are 151 lagoons on the island, split pretty much evenly between brackish and freshwater, or salt even. And this lagoon guide will tell you which lagoon is salt, which lagoon is freshwater, and it also has a lot of hints as to how to go about catching fish. So if you really want to catch fish, big fish in our lagoons, this is the document you need to have. We ask that you please give us a donation of $10 or more to help us put together this paper. In addition to talking about the lagoons, we have a few pages in here that talk about the basics of inshore fishing. Pretty much almost anything you need to know about inshore fishing is contained in those few pages. If you're interested in this kind of a document, we ask that you call and contact Hal Evans at the phone number you see here, which is 912-777-6937. Next slide, please. Bill?
Okay.
Howdy, folks. Join me to learn the story of this dynamic Georgia reef, a great place to live.
Coastal Conservation Association was founded in 1978 in Houston to restore the redfish population in the Gulf of Mexico. Its 140,000 members in 17 coastal states have gone on to achieve many conservation wins for the fish and their habitats. CCA Georgia, founded in 1986, now has 6 local chapters with 1,200 members. One of its areas of focus is marine habitat. It is well known that sunken ships are teeming with life, much like a natural seafloor. In 1991, construction began on the CCA JL artificial reef by sinking the tugboat Detroit. In years since, rubble from the old Talmadge Bridge, old bridge supports, the 100-foot tug Devon, several 100-foot barges, concrete culverts, and 20 New York subway cars have been added to the site. The reef is now home to thousands of species and teems with plant and animal life.
So, what's so special about artificial reefs? Well, you see all this life around me, plants, little sea squirts, small fish, big fish. Before this artificial reef was built, there was nothing here but sand and seawater. You see, hard surfaces are needed to allow an ocean ecosystem to develop. It can't happen on shifting sand. So creating homes for the plants and animals you see here are what reefs are all about.
You just saw one reef site, but working with the Georgia Department of Natural Resources and other partners, CCA has helped create 27 offshore reefs and 15 inshore reefs along Georgia's coast. That's a lot of habitat. In addition, working with our partners, CCA has helped restore oyster beds in 7 locations. Healthy oyster populations are critical to keeping coastal waters clean and to provide habitat for many marine species, especially juvenile. Habitat is just one part of the story. CCA also advocates for sustainable rules and regulations and conducts a robust public outreach and education program. But those stories are for another time. We would, however, like to share just a bit about the Marine Conservation License Plate, which CCA got the state legislature to approve in 2017. In just 2 years, sale of that license has yielded more than $300,000 for conservation. The first projects funded were the recent deployment of a 180-foot Menhaden fishing vessel at the JY Reef and an 82-foot shrimp trawler to augment the CCA JL Reef.
Folks, these things could only happen because people like you cared and supported the work of CCA. We thank you from the bottom of the ocean. And remember, there's lots more to do. You've helped and you can still help. Please make a difference. And for more information about our efforts, go to ccagf.org. You can also donate there.
Okay.
Bill, you going to introduce Frank? You want me to?
Yes. I just had a number of people who had just come into the meeting, so I want to make sure that they were in and able. At this point, now that you've seen the video, Frank, could you provide some insight as to what's going on with the ongoing fundraising activity here at CCA? Frank, you're probably on mute.
Now on mute.
Now you're
Unmute.
okay. You're unmuted,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you once again for being here this afternoon at our first partly experimental CCA Skidaway seminar. Fishing on the island has been especially popular during our COVID experience. As many of you already know, we maintain and manage all of the lagoon fisheries on Skidaway Island in partnership with the Landings Association Public Works Department. TLA doesn't fund us, however. We're entirely funded by your donations, and we're in the process of kicking off our 2021 fundraising campaign. We'll be sending you an email to notify you of our fundraising letter prior to or about mid-February. We hope you'll contribute to keep our fisheries thriving and giving kids and adults alike a place to enjoy being outside with a fishing rod in your hand. In addition to managing both freshwater and saltwater fisheries, your donations support programs like fishing contests, kids activities, and nature activities, particularly at the Kids Lagoon. So we look forward to hearing from you, and we hope you'll send us a donation, and we look forward to seeing you around the lagoons. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Fishing stories. This is usually the part where the audience really participates. And I'd love to be able to ask each of you what your recent catch was, but recognizing the logistics of Zooming. Bill, go to the next slide, please. We put in a couple of ringers, and I have some pictures that you're seeing here of some folks that have caught fish. John Duran, are you on?
Yes, Vic. The boy in the top left is a lad who was fishing on one of the Oak Ridge freshwater lagoons, and I was just driving by in my golf cart and saw him catch that nice bass and asked him if I could take his picture. He was happy to pose with his big bass. So it was a fun day for him and me.
Great, thanks, John. Mike Welsh, are you on?
Hey, Mike, make sure you unmute yourself. Not hearing from him. I'll continue until he comes in, and when he chimes in, I'll stop. On the top right, you'll see Robert Hale. Everyone who has lived at the Landings for a while and has come to CCA meetings knows of Robert. He's a supreme fisherman, very knowledgeable, and you can see the catch. The top two pictures are his, and that largemouth bass he's holding is just incredible. And then on the right, just to show the variety that's in our lagoons, he's got a snook. So he's just a tremendous fisherman. And then going down to the bottom right, there's a picture of Captain Jack McGowan and a buddy of mine, Carl Kotheimer. Carl's holding a 6-pound flounder. I happened to be with him on this fishing trip. As a matter of fact, it was one of those trips where I think Carl won the raffle, and we went on a fishing trip with Jack. So I wish I can ask some of you to share your catches with us and stories with us, but I guess A, we're limited for time. That's not the reason why you came, as B. And I'm going to ask Bill Darsney to go to the next slide, and Bill's going to talk to you about how you may want to insert questions during the presentation that follows, which is our main event, and that's Doug Painter.
Hey, Vic, it's Ken Highlander, and Mike's not on, but Mike's standing on my boat. And
well, you know something about it then.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking that must have been during one of the 4 red snapper days last year.
And it was.
And we went out to the Grand Banks, which is about 45, 50 miles offshore. And as usual, Mike did a good job and brought home a couple of keepers.
I just want to let you know he never gives you any credit.
Yeah, well, I know that. That's why I'm speaking up.
Good for you. Okay,
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vic. Again, a little bit of the mechanics to help people ask questions, because clearly you're here and learning. And so what we just want to do is just briefly talk about, if, again, on the left side of the slide, if you want to submit a question, and how we're doing this is in everybody's screen. If you're, again, a window user, you'll see down the bottom the ability to submit and chat. So you want to click on that, and then you go into follow the arrows, and you'll select my name, and then put your questions in here. And what we'll do is we'll accumulate questions after Doug presents, and then he'll answer those questions. On the right side of the page, you can see briefly, if you're an Apple user, that you need to go up into the upper right-hand corner, click on that where it says more, and at that point in time, select chat. And if you move lower, then same type of thing is to select my name, and then submit your question, and we'll record those, as well as in the next page is, if you're using iPhone, that typically, again, the same process, but you'll see that it's on the lower part of the screen that will basically lay out and allow you to submit your questions. And we'll go through those questions, and Doug and or other members of the board of directors may in fact respond as we go after the presentation. Okay. Doug? Are you on mute?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here with you, even though it's only in this electronic dimension. I chose the slide here. It's first of all, because it's a great fish. It's a wild rainbow, about 5.5 pounds. But the reason I really chose it is it wasn't caught in Montana or Colorado, somewhere far off. That fish was caught just about 3 weeks ago, right here in Georgia. And the point is great fishing doesn't have to be that far away. And what better example do we have than the 151 lagoons right here on our island? One of the things we saw in 2020 was an unbelievable surge in fishing license sales throughout America, 30–40% up in some states. And the state fish and wildlife agencies made 2 points. One, many of these license buyers were new to fishing. And second, they saw a notable increase in the numbers of families fishing together. So all of us here on the Skidaway chapter of CCA thought what we really needed was a good presentation of how to get started fishing our lagoons. This will be a series, and the first part of that series is fishing our freshwater lagoons. If you will, our lagoon guide is the where to go, and our new presentation is how to do it. So let's take a look. After the show, we'll have time for questions and answers. And after that, Dave DeVore, our chapter president, will be on with a little wrap up, and of course, the picking of our winners for the Miss Judy Fishing Charter. So stay tuned and stay with us. You can go ahead and shoot the show now.
On behalf of all the members of the Skidaway Island chapter of the Coastal Conservation Association, welcome to the landings. Our island home is dotted with 151 lagoons, about half freshwater and half saltwater, that add to the natural beauty of our landscape, but also serve as important aquatic habitat for a wide range of native species and, notably, an extraordinary array of bird life, from ospreys and eagle to a range of herons and egrets. Over the years, the Skidaway chapter of the CCA has worked closely with the Landings Association to help ensure that our lagoons continue as healthy and diverse wildlife and fisheries habitats, while also providing great fishing for Landings residents and their guests. Volunteers from our local chapter annually monitor lagoon water quality and salinity Sane selected lagoons to determine the health and growth of various fish species, and over the years, we have stocked more than 250,000 fish in our waters while adding structures that enhance underwater habitat. Your local chapter is also active in promoting youth fishing and outdoor education. Our Castaway Club combines nature seminars at our outdoor education center along with family fishing fun. Our kids' fishing lagoon is chock-a-block full of stocked bluegills and hosts our annual kids' fishing derby. There are lagoons throughout the landing's property, so good fishing is never that far away. That's why we call it fishing a la carte. When you head out, keep in mind that fishing access is from shorelines on common property. Fishing is not allowed from shorelines that abut our golf courses. Also, keep an eye out. There well may be alligators both in freshwater and saltwater lagoons. That's one big reason why wading, swimming, rafting, or boating is prohibited in all our lagoons. Georgia fishing rules and regulations apply. You can go online to gootoutdoorsgeorgia.com and follow the prompts for license information. So what species of fish are in our lagoons? Our headliner act is one of America's favorite game fish, the largemouth bass. We also have a variety of panfish, including bluegill, red ear sunfish, and black crappie. Carp and bullhead catfish are around as well. So where should I be casting my lure or bait? As a general rule, cast close to any structure, such as a partially submerged log or branch, a brushy shoreline that juts out into the water, aquatic vegetation, and our artificial structure designated by our duck decoys that float above. These types of areas provide food, shelter, and shade for fish. If there's no obvious structure, look for vegetation and tree branches that hang out over the water. Bass will often hold tight to the bank of these shaded spots. So what type of tackle do I need? A 6 to 7 foot spinning rod rated for 6 to 12 pound tests with an open face spinning reel will be your best bet. Look for one of the many matched rod and reel combos available from major retailers such as Bass Pro. These go from about $50 to $130. If you're fishing mainly for panfish, consider a lightweight spinning combo rod and reel rated for line weights of between 4 and 6 pound test. So, what about baits and lures? When choosing a bass lure, a rule of thumb is that light colors, such as white, light green, and silver, work well in clear water. Dark colors, such as black, dark green, and purple, will do best in dark water and low light conditions. There are a huge number of types and styles of bass lures, but these three are consistent producers and are easy to fish. An artificial worm hooked in the middle is known as a wacky worm. The tails of the worm flutter as it sinks through the water column, an action bass find irresistible. This rig doesn't really imitate anything in nature, but I guess that's why they call it wacky. One of the most productive bass lures of all time, the arbogast hula popper, elicits exciting topwater strikes. Its concave mouth creates fish-attracting popping sounds along with a bubble trail. Pop or twitch it slowly, especially around weed beds. Also high on the list of the most reliable bass lures is a spinnerbait that mimics a baitfish. These cast and retrieve lures allow you to cover a lot of water to determine where the fish are, both in shallow and deeper water. Spinnerbaits are largely snag-free, so they can also be worked in heavy cover, such as submerged vegetation. For our bluegill and other panfish, these three classic lures are top producers. The Rapala ultralight minnow is easy to fish and covers a lot of water. The Rebel wee frog is a great topwater choice, and the Rebel crickhopper can be worked on the surface or a few feet down. Baits are often the preferred way of fishing for panfish. Excellent choices include night crawlers, which should be cut up into small sections that just cover the hook, redworms, crickets, canned corn, as well as mealworms. When using these baits, snap a plastic bobber several feet above the hook and pinch on a split shot or two between the hook, size 6 to 10, and bobber. If fishing in deeper water, slide the bobber up towards the rod tip. So which lagoon should I fish? Your local CCA chapter has put together and annually updates its popular lagoon guide, which includes maps with the location of each lagoon identified by a unique number. The guide also contains a variety of additional fishing information and a knot tying guide. The guide is available with a $10 donation to the CCA Fishing and Youth Development Fund. Please contact Hal Evans at the email and phone number you see on the screen. The CCA is a national nonprofit association dedicated to ensuring the health and conservation of our marine resources and anglers' access to them. For more information on membership, please contact Pat Brooks at the email and phone number you see on the screen. We hope you enjoy your time outdoors at one of our island's lagoons, and that on your very next cast, you catch the big one.
Thanks, Doug. Great. Let's just see if we've got a number of questions. Again, if you want to submit a question, open up the chat, send a message to me, and I will ask Doug to do this. But Doug, just a couple quick questions I have. First is, do I need a license to
Yes,
fish here?
You do need a license. And always keep in mind, by the way, that when you buy a license, whether it's a hunting or fishing license, that money goes to support the state conservation agency. So it's a good way to self-fund the things we enjoy doing.
Okay, great. One question just came in, wants to know the best lagoons for largemouth bass.
The best what?
The best lagoons for largemouth bass.
Oh, that's not a free answer there, guys.
That's what fishing's all about, right?
You know, actually, here's a bunch of guys have told me the bigger the lagoon, the better the chance you'll find some big bass in it. And so I have two words for you: Deer Creek.
Actually, Deer Creek, that second hole, that big lagoon on the second hole, the par 3, many years ago, my next door neighbor and I caught an 8-pound bass. Actually, he caught it right at that bridge that goes over. So it is really it's a tremendous spot.
Great, thanks. Any other questions? I'll ask the question that was on maybe some people's mind. Can I eat the fish I catch?
Well, you know, there's nothing in these lagoons that is a specific pollutant that would prohibit that. But, you know, our tradition on the island is catch and release.
Oh, perfect. Okay. One question just came through. What's the largest bass caught here? Does anyone know?
Well, I will tell you, the largest bass I have seen caught here is when we had the SCAD women's fishing team here. And we had them as guests. And one of them caught an 11-pound largemouth. Now, maybe an old timer like Chuck Smith knows of bigger fish back in the day, but that's an awfully big bass anywhere.
Okay, thanks. Someone asked, and will the presentation be available for download? The answer is yes. The first video you saw, as well as the meeting, will be available, and we're going to be doing this on a regular basis. Oh. One question has come in: how do you choose the lagoons you replenish with fish?
Well, you know, some of the lagoons, let me first of all say, you know, if you've got kids and want to fish with them, the kids' lagoon is just phenomenal. It is just full of thousands of bluegills right now. And boy, it's fun just to watch those feeders go off. It's like a bunch of piranha out there jumping around. So if you've got kids, and people forget that if you go to fish with your kids at the kids' lagoon, it's fine if you fish with them. So there you
Perfect.
go.
Bill and Doug, I don't know if you can hear me. This is Jeff
Yep.
Harper. Okay. For all of those that aren't familiar with everything that we're talking about, and you're just watching this video to become more informed, we do have a lagoon committee that reviews all the procedures and policies that our lagoons require, as well as when we stock, when we take record of fish, that's seining, and when we electrofish. Electrofishing is when we go in and shock the water, so to speak, and the fish come up and we grab them by net, we measure them, we weigh them, and then we put them back. Everybody's fine. But that gives us an idea of how healthy our lagoons are. And so to answer that viewer's question, that's how we determine which lagoons we want to stock. The healthier lagoons can sort of take care of themselves. Some of the other lagoons need some of our help, and that's where some of our dollars go to stock these lagoons and keep them all healthy, which is why, you know, we need the donations that we need.
Great. I think you've answered this one, Doug, but one of the questions just came in. It says, what offers the best success for a 7-year-old to catch a bass in Marshwood? Rig, lure, technique?
Well, you know, there are bass in the kids' fishing lagoon. So, you know, nothing's that far away. And I would always say start at the kids' lagoon there. There are bass there, they're bluegill. You'll have a good time. You know, we've got, if you haven't been there in the last few years, we've got that nice like outdoor pole barn up there. And it's a great place to bring your peanut butter and jelly sandwich and sit out there and fish for a while.
Yeah, crickets or worms really work well at the kids' fishing lagoon.
One of the questions came in, it says, what's the preferred technique in winter? Is there something you need to do special in winter fishing versus summer, or anything you need to consider? Any thoughts?
You know, I would say in this cooler weather, you're going to have to fish a little deeper, and it's not going to be as much surface action.
Okay. They're slowly coming in, as we say. This reminder here is, and Rick, thanks a lot, that at the kids' lagoon too, there's feeders there that basically go off around 11:30 daily, and it's fun to watch. If you ever have seen it, I mean, the fish really go at it, and there's a chance to see what's there, and in some cases you'll get a chance to see how many fish there in fact love to get fed there. Any additional questions? Again, clearly, as we move forward, you know, if you have certain questions, we can gather them, and as part of making sure that our activity is there. I see people raising their hands. They know they've been on Zoom calls before. Kevin?
Yes, I sent a question in, but I didn't hear a reply. I didn't hear it read out yet. I was wondering, I bought a couple of the lagoon guides in past years, and I was wondering if I can get an electronic PDF version of it. Is that possible?
How are you shaking your head?
You know, I don't think we have those. I think we have only the paper version.
Hal can answer that question.
Go ahead, Hal.
The answer is no.
So is it a policy that you don't want to, or?
It's a policy that we don't want to.
Okay. I mean, you know, anybody can, the people purchasing is probably not the ones you worry about, but you know, anybody can, I mean, if they're going to violate copyright, they're going to violate copyright, unfortunately, but I understand if that's the position.
Okay, I want to, Pat, I see you have your hand raised. You guys have been.
Hey, Bill.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Pat,
I was just going to add to the point that Doug had said, I guess the question about fishing in the cold water. I say I see a lot of anglers just fishing really fast. So when it's cold, the fish tend to be a little slower. I was going to say maybe fish a little slower than you normally would fish in the summertime. Fish kind of don't attack the bait as quick. So that might be something to keep in mind when you're fishing in the cold weather. The fish tend to not move as fast.
That's a great point, Pat.
Just adding that. That's all.
Couple more questions, and I see Frank has a question as well. And this is probably a whole nother section we could run on. The question is, are the lagoons connected? And I guess in some way or another they are.
Yes, some are connected. And I'm not the expert on which lagoons are connected, but maybe we'll have Sean Burgess back. He did for one of our seminars, an absolutely, I thought, fascinating description of the whole lagoon system and how it operates and the engineering behind it. And
I believe that presentation's available on the association website. Can't swear to it, but pretty sure
it is. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, that's something we should check on and we can make available.
And I believe that all of the lagoons are connected to all of the lagoons. I don't think there's any lagoon that doesn't have a pipe that goes to another one. Some of them have flow control valves, so the fish aren't going to go one direction, are only going to be able to go one direction, but they all communicate with each other.
Frank, you wanted to, Frank, would you?
No, it's been answered.
Okay. Pat, I see that you have your hand raised again. Oh,
Not undone it. No, sorry.
okay, that's okay. One of the last questions in here is: has anyone caught a stocked striper yet?
Oh boy, that is the great mystery on our island. We stocked 1,500 hybrid striped bass in a bunch of our lagoons. And I'll be honest with you, the only one that I know that has been caught was caught at the Kids Fishing Derby in the Kids Fishing Lagoon. But if somebody has caught one, hey, Pat, do you know about that? Have you or your son caught any?
No, not there. We caught some before up by Delagal in that lagoon before the saltwater intrusion a while ago. That was a couple of years ago. There was striper put in that one. The lagoon right where the bridge is in Delagal.
That was one of the lagoons that we stocked the stripers.
Yeah. We caught one in there, good size. I actually have a picture of it. I'll try to dig it up. I took a kid there. It's his first time really fishing at all, and caught a nice one. I think that's probably 4 years ago, I'd imagine.
Okay.
I would say the stocking was probably not as successful as we wanted it to be. And we'll probably just have to determine, talk to Sean Burgess, some other people, and see, what might have gone wrong, and should we try it again, maybe. It would be great if we could get that. That is a fun fish to catch.
Okay.
Great.
It looks like have hit all the questions.
Hey, Bill?
Yep.
It's Jeff Harper again. I just want to hit on this one point because I think it's important for those on the call who haven't fished or are trying to fish to know. These lagoons look like they're deep as hell, but they're not. And Doug will, can speak to this. Most of them are only 6 to 8 feet deep. So you have to max the bait to that. A lot of people that I've seen fishing these lagoons are fishing these Rapala deep diving crankbaits and things like that are just bumping off the bottom and getting caught in the various vegetations that we have down there. So people need to be aware that other than the Lagoon 106 that we were just talking about, which is by Delagal Marina, most of the lagoons are only about 6 to 8 feet deep. The one at Delagal is much deeper, 10 to 26 feet deep, because it was originally going to be dredged for a marina, and then they backed off on that. So these lagoons are shallow lagoons, so fish accordingly.
Okay, great. Well, why don't we continue with our next series of slides.
Let me, Bill, just say before we leave, I wanted to thank, we should all thank Paulette Hamilton for putting together that presentation. I think she did a great job.
Great, thank you. Okay.
You gotta unmute yourself, Dave. You were unmuted, now you're muted.
Dave, you need to unmute.
I got it. Okay.
You got
Thank
it?
you. Yeah. Okay. Doug, thanks a lot for your presentation. It was very comprehensive. And let's go to the next slide here. I'd like to go over our tentative calendar for the first half of 2021. Once again, this is tentative. And for Q1, what we're looking at doing for the first quarter here is we're going to have 3 Zoom seminars. The first one we just had on freshwater in the lagoons. The second will be the brackish lagoons. And the third one will be the kids lagoons. And I know Doug or Frank mentioned at 11:30 every morning, 7 days a week, the 5 feeders we have off there go off simultaneously. And it's something to behold. If you have kids or your grandkids are down here visiting, it'd be a great place to visit. Other than that, for the first quarter, we have 2 other major events. One Frank went over already. It's our annual fundraiser. And the second event is we're going to spend some of Frank's money. And we're going to stock, the Lagoon Committee is going to stock the freshwater lagoons. And we'll be putting in between 15 and 20,000 fish, which is what we do every year. And that runs over $10,000. That's a lot of where the money that Frank collects goes, is a reinvestment back into our lagoons to enhance our fishing. For Q2, we're looking real aggressive here right now. Everybody's going to be well. The pandemic's going away. This is probably not going to happen, but we'd like to resume traditional meetings at St. Peter's again. We'd like to resume the Kids Castaway Club again. And we'd like to crank up maybe 1 or 2 outdoor excursions again. But one thing it is cut in stone, there will be a kids fishing derby on May 29th, assuming we meet all our health standards for the state of Georgia and Chatham County. This is very aggressive. If this doesn't happen, we'll revert back to our seminars. We'll continue to be virtual and we'll introduce other topics. On the next meeting, we're going to have Doug Painter. Let's go to the next slide here. Doug's going to talk about our saltwater lagoons. Now, it's fun and exciting to fish in the freshwater lagoons. Lots of bass. They're a great fish to catch. But you get into the saltwater lagoons, the brackish lagoons. There's quite an array of fish here. There you see Rick Cunningham with one of the famous red drum. You also flounder. We have a snook hanging up there. We have the 2 young men are each holding speckled trout. And in the lower right-hand corner, we have black drum. And these are all great fish. Someone asked about, are these fish good to eat? In the saltwater lagoons, there's probably nothing wrong with eating the fish that come out of the saltwater lagoons because they're refreshed on by the tide. On the saltwater lagoons, the freshwater lagoons, like Doug said, there's nothing there that's going to hurt you. But these saltwater fish are pretty tasty. So that's what will be discussed next Friday or next February 8th. And our meetings are always on the second Monday of the month, except in January where we compete with the college finals. So let's go to the next one, if you would. And now 2 lucky people are each going to win a lottery ticket to go out with Miss Judy in one of her charter boats. It's $350 value. And we've sold so far, we had 82 participants join, and they each got a free ticket. And then we sold 99 tickets. So there's 181 tickets in here. So you have 1 chance in 91 of winning a charter with Captain Judy. And we're going to choose the 2 numbers. They're going to be chosen at random by Rick Cunningham and Paulette Hamilton. And they're submitting them to me right now as we speak.
And it's one chance in 181. But if you bought extra tickets, you may have 8 chances in 181.
Oh, yep.
Here's the math.
So we'll have a drum roll here. And the first number ends in 180. And that is a fellow named Tom Hamilton. His lucky winner for a seat. And the second one coming in.
Unmute yourself, Tom.
The second number coming in ends in 157. And that is Jason Futch, Futch 11. And so we will contact you. Stan Fader will be contacting you so we can share your emails. You can work with each other to see a great date to go. You have 12 months to schedule this. And you have to coordinate it with Captain Judy. We will provide you with her contact information. And so that's great. So expect an email from Stan Fader. We have your emails. We'll be contacting you later today or tomorrow. We'll be contacted this week for sure. If for any reason you are not contacted, please contact me directly. And so I'd like to thank everyone for their participation. Doug, for your presentation. And I look forward to talking with all of you on February the 8th. Thank you.
Great.
Should we all leave the meeting, Bill?
You
or
can all leave the meeting. Yep.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.